All right, folks, David here. We have another showdown today. Now, for those who are keeping score at home, I'm up 2-0. It hasn't been close. So, Eric, I hope you're holding a full house today. Or maybe your choices need some home improvement. Either way, we will take this step by step. And if you start to experience some growing pains, hopefully you will be saved by the bell.
When I wake up in the morning and the alarm gets out of warning, I don't think I'll ever make it on time. Everywhere you look, everywhere there's a heart, a hand to hold on to. It's a rare condition, this day and age, to read any good news on the newspaper page.
All right, Eric, as we talk about these great shows from the 80s and 90s, I think one of our categories we have to start with is Best TV Dad. Now, I will say, unfortunately, like as we were putting these lists together, we've lost a lot of these dads in the last couple of years. Who would you say is your best TV dad? And how many honorable mentions do you have?
I'm going to try to keep my honorable mentions to a minimum, but it was so hard when we decided to do this episode. I would have to say that Carl Winslow is my TV dad. Like, I love Carl Winslow from Family Matters.
Wow.
Reginald Bell Johnson is who played him, which I felt super bad that I had to look that up. But to me, it's just like he'll always be Carl Winslow. Like he was, I think it's because he just represented like a working class dad who was a police officer and lived in Chicago, and just he was funny. He was a big guy, and I feel like I just related to him because he was a big guy and he could have fun, but also he could be serious and he could give a lesson when a lesson needed to be learned. So yeah, like Carl Winslow, it really came out as the top one for me.
Any kudos to any dad who would have to put up with Urkel, right?
That's true.
So I mean, he wins.
Yeah, as your
there.
neighbor that just constantly stops by. It's funny because when I was rewatching some clips, he would put his hand out like this and he'd go 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. What the heck is bothering me? And that was supposed to calm him down. It was a Stress Busters pamphlet that he got from like work or something. But there were so many scenes where he would do that 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, what the heck is bothering me? And then he would be like, you! And just like lunge at Urkel. I don't know how Carl Winslow didn't have a heart attack, but like he was a no-nonsense dad. But it was all based out of love. And I think that's what he resonated with me because of that.
Because the truth is, I love you.
Dad. The dad I'm going to go with has a lot of those same qualities as well. And unfortunately, he is an actor. We did lose, I think, a couple of years ago, Alan Thicke, Dr. Jason Seaver, stay-at-home dad from Growing Pains.
Yeah.
There was, when we started putting this together, all I could hear was his voice, and I could remember his hair, and Alan Thicke just had this look.
Yeah, he was a cool dad, yeah.
And that's what I loved about him, because he had cool kids, so he also was cool with them. There's a scene that I remember, and this is, again, taking a show that was basically a comedy, but had those serious moments. Kirk Cameron came home late, and his curfew was supposed to be 1 a.m. He came home at 2:15 a.m. Alan Thicke, Dr. Jason Seaver, gets up from the couch and goes to the door and just waits for Mike to open and turn around and go, Dad. And he goes, Mike, that is you, right? It's you, right? And he goes, yeah, Dad, that's me. And he goes, oh, because my Mike was supposed to be home at 1 o'clock. But totally turning this moment that Mike's in trouble, Kirk Cameron character, but Alan Thicke plays it as like a joke and kind of lowers the tension. And then, come on, Mike, let's sit on the couch. We need to talk about this. And he just stares at Mike, Kirk Cameron's character, and you could tell he's visibly bothered. And you see this shift in Alan Thicke, and he goes, what's wrong? Yeah. Something's wrong. And like, I, as a dad, want to have those elements in my parenting style, and I feel like I do already. I don't have a teenager, but just the way that he can blend humor and seriousness with his kids was really, really great. But he did give the hugs, and he just was funny, and I think you said it, he was cool.
Thanks, Dad.
All right, so here's where we could go one way or the other with this. And best TV couple.
I would have to say that Kevin Arnold and Winnie Cooper from the Wonder Years were...
You're going old school.
I'm going old school. Like early shows that I watched back in the day. And the weird thing is we all know that those two didn't end up together. The final episode of that show, they cleared... Spoiler alert. 30-year-old spoiler alert. But they didn't end up together, and they were so hot and cold and on and off throughout that whole series. But that show, especially with the voiceover work of Daniel Stern, one of the sticky bandits himself, from Home Alone.
We're the Sticky Bandits.
Real cute. Very cute.
Like, he was such a good narrator in that I feel like Fred Savage's acting combined with Daniel Stern talking in such a reminiscent way about his first love that was Winnie Cooper.
Right.
Like, I think that in my opinion, I really think that that's one of the best depictions of a true childhood crush is Wonder Years.
But I think about the events of that day again and again, and somehow I know that Winnie does too.
Here's where we lose all of our viewers.
Uh-oh.
Our listeners. Both, I guess. Corey and Lauren.
Oh.
I have to admit, like, that episode, Ski Trip Girl, Lauren and Corey had really good chemistry. Now, of course, I don't want that to happen in the end. I still will go Corey and Topanga. Mm-hmm. But Corey and Lauren, and everyone's so mad at Lauren, but Corey's the one who said his ankle still hurt, and it didn't. It really does sound like I'm picking Corey and Lauren. No, I love Corey and Topanga. Of course, those are actually some of the more emotional episodes when they actually would have their breakups, which didn't happen very often. But that's when you knew if it did, like, oh, what is going on? This is insane. No, they can't break up. They're Corey and Topanga.
Right.
I can just hear Sean saying that. Maybe actually I should have used Corey and Sean as the best TV couple.
You and me together, that's 2 proposals in the same day, Sean. I must be the luckiest boy in the world.
All right, speaking of cool, best TV cool guy.
When push comes to shove, I really feel like it has to be Uncle Jesse from Full House.
He's getting a lot of love in this episode.
Yeah, Uncle
Mr.
Jesse.
Stamos, I hope you're listening.
Yeah, Mr. Stamos. Maybe you should have been in my crush category. But he had such cool hair. He rode a motorcycle. He was in a band.
Leather
he was
jacket.
he was best friends with the Beach Boys. Like, he was so cool.
He had catchphrases too.
He did. Have mercy. Mercy. It was. And I feel like he connected the most with the girls in that show too. Like, he was the cool uncle. So to me, like, that's why he kind of rose to the top as being the cool guy.
Very simple. By saying, Jesse, you're right. You've always been right, and you'll always be right.
If Danny Tanner's America's dad, like, he wasn't maybe our top pick. Like, the cool guy was Zack Morris.
Yeah, he was super cool.
The blonde hair, the big phone he would always carry, the way he would talk his way out of things.
Yeah.
He had like a swagger, but it wasn't really swagger back then. He was just like cool, but he also made it seem kind of relatable.
Absolutely.
Even though he is extremely good looking and charming, he just still made you feel like you're along this ride with him.
Yeah. So let's see if this works. Time out.
Would you mind talking to him for me, Zach?
Time out.
I'll be so happy loving you.
Time in.
Sure, if you think it'll make a difference.
Time in. Holy crap, it works.
That could work for both the visual and audio media. That joke.
I was hoping you'd go with it. Oh, that was, for all the watchers, viewers or listeners, that was an unplanned segment that worked out well.
That was, and also for anyone, you're gonna get a YouTube of just Eric and photoshopped Uncle Jesse like walking on the beach or something. Just be prepared.
Some sort of
He's
punchline
actually
in
gonna
there.
put Uncle Jesse's face on mine. I think that's what he's gonna do. And next week it'll be Eric and John Stamos. So thanks for listening, everyone.
If I got John Stamos on this, it'll be a heck of an episode.
Thanks.
No, yeah.
Thanks a lot.